Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as always, I'm going to kick it over to John, Randall, and I. We got the full trifecta this week in just a few minutes. And we will have, I know we've already rolled over into 2023 here, but next week we're going to have our episode number holiday edition for 2022, kind of our year-end wrap-up, sort of a game of the year, edition of the podcast, although we don't necessarily stick to stuff that was released in 2022. I was actually hoping to originally release it this week, but just with the way that things worked out scheduling wise and recording wise and just like having to save it for the cast in between, I was like, you know what, rather than scrambling to get this one edited, because it's actually one of our longer episodes as well, we just always pick our like top 3 favorite games that we played throughout the course of the year, each of us, and then on top of that do some honorable mentions and whatnot, and then we also make a New Year's resolution for something that we're going to be playing this year. Hopefully I won't be waiting till the absolute last second like I've done for the last 2 years. I got all my games with me here in Michigan at this point, so, or at least I think I've got them all. I do have a few things left over at the practice space over in Chicago, but yeah, this week John, Randall, and I get into all sorts of stuff, a lot of Paper Mario talk, and even the Mario and Luigi series in general. We talk about Logan Arcade over in Chicago, where we used to play Killer Queen all the time. We really get into all sorts of a little bit of JRPG action, project, or I guess not project, I always forget, just regular triangle strategy, more just kind of conversational stuff per usual with the Save It for the Cast material. But yeah, it's a really fun one this week. It was really fun editing this one. But as always, I've been doing a ton of gaming this week, and actually quite a bit more than usual. Unfortunately, the whole family came down with COVID right after the holidays, so we've been all kind of laid up for a few days. Thankfully, though, for the most part, we all had pretty mild symptoms. I think everyone in our family probably had like one day, maybe a day and a half that we were kind of down for the count and just kind of laying around and whatever. But that gave me a little bit of time. For Christmas, I got $40 worth of Nintendo Switch eShop cards. So I went, and of course, around the holidays, there's always all sorts of eShop deals. So I grabbed a bunch of games that I've been meaning to, that have been sitting on my wish list forever. I grabbed Grindstone, which is probably the game that's grabbed my attention the most. Between that and the Panzer Dragoon Remake, which Grindstone, just to briefly touch on it, John's talked about it before on the podcast, and it's one that maybe I'll save to dig into deeper. I'll just kind of do a short little intro here for this week's and just kind of rattle off some of the stuff I've been playing, because I have been just kind of bouncing around a bunch, other than kind of sinking my teeth pretty deep into Grindstone. But I'm still pretty early on. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of Cappy games or Capybara games ever since Might and Magic Clash of Heroes and Critter Crunch. I think Critter Crunch came first, but they've done a few other games. I think they even made Below, which I still haven't tried. And I know that game got kind of a mixed reception, but I don't know. I've just been a huge fan of theirs ever since Critter Crunch, and Grindstone is certainly no exception, and it definitely leans into that kind of matching puzzler type gameplay that they really excelled with Critter Crunch and with Might and Magic Clash of Heroes. But I just think they've made 3 awesome games now that kind of are like a twist on, that you can do more than a 3 combo, but just for lack of a better term, like a match 3 puzzler. And they've just made 3 really unique takes on that, game formula or whatever you want to call it. And Grindstone, yeah, has been no exception. I really love the art style. It's really actually been making me want to play Sushi Striker. Something about the way the gameplay controls. It's more turn-based as opposed to Sushi Striker that's like way more arcade action. But just the way like you kind of target the dishes in Sushi Striker really works the same way that you target like the creeps and jerks in Grindstone. So yeah, I was really excited to grab that one. Like I said, I grabbed the Panzer Dragoon Remake. It was 90% off, so down from $25 to $250. And after Randall was just talking about Panzer Dragoon Saga last week, again, this is just a remake of the original game in the series, but really cool to play that. And again, especially I had only played the demo on the Sega Saturn way back in the day, so really fun to play. I've beaten like the first 3 or 4. I think I'm on stage 4, and it kind of like lets you accumulate more credits based on how well you perform in each stage. But I think I'll probably save that because I know John scooped it up as soon as I mentioned in the Discord that Panzer Dragoon was on sale. But yeah, I popped in real briefly. I haven't even really booted it up yet, but like I got the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series for Christmas as well. That was probably the game I was looking the most forward to getting. And I got Super Mario 3D World with the Bowser's Fury, which I'm really excited. That actually won. I did a Patreon poll in the Discord for like what game I should stream, like first stream of the new year. And I was like, all these like indie fans in here just like immediately like, oh, Mario, let's go. So I'm really excited to dig into that again. Yeah, especially after all the hype that Randall is heaped on top of Bowser's Fury. But Yeah, at the risk of just like rambling on and on and on, which I certainly could do here because I've been bouncing around to a ton of indie games, a ton of sock pop games, but I think I'll save some of that stuff for when John, Randall, and I can get back together in the new year and sync up for some more video game chit chat and whatnot. But yeah, like I was saying, we'll have the holiday year-end 2022 wrap-up episode next week, which will be jam-packed with all sorts of goodies. But yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet for once. Keep my word on the intro here and actually keep it on the short side. And yeah, we'll catch you next week. And until then, take care and hope everybody had a good new year. And hope everybody's 2023 is off to a good start. But yeah, until next week, we'll catch you then and take care.
It's just goddamn whirlwinds on whirlwinds.
Yeah, one after another, man.
I'm like, I gotta talk about Panzer Dragoon. Like, I'm running out of time to do that, and I've got like no time to play it. But I'm like, I have to talk about this if I'm going to talk about it on the year-end podcast. Like,
have you not talked about it?
No, I don't think so.
I could have sworn
if I did,
that there was a time that you. Because I could have sworn that you talked about it. Maybe you just talked about it off the podcast or something, or in the Discord or something. Because I just remember at one point you were like, no, I'm going to beat this game. Like, I remember being like, oh, man, he's in it for the long haul.
I did say that. You're right.
But
and I did
it might have just...
Well, let me look at the old...
yeah, I didn't check the spreadsheet. I was on my phone, and Drive had like switched to the cloud. Like, I would have had to re-download Drive on my phone because I hadn't used it in so long.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't feel like doing that. Speaking of Google, did you guys see, either of you happen to go on Google today or see the doodle?
Yeah, that was
little Jerry
guy, but
little Jerry Lawson. I jotted it down just in case because I was like, I'm gonna forget his name.
That was
but
super
I think
cool.
he was like the guy that I think invented, or at least like popularized, or whatever, came up with like the concept of putting a game on a cartridge or whatever.
Yeah.
But did either of you happen to like play it or whatever? You know how they like sometimes make it like a little mini game or whatever.
I did not.
It was like a little mini platformer, pretty basic and whatever. But then like the last thing, it's like, oh, and now you can make a level however you want. And it like opened up into like a little mini like Mario Maker sort of thing. Like, I didn't really play around with it, but it looked like there were like, 5 different backdrops you could pick from, and like it wasn't half bad. I mean, I didn't play anything beyond the tutorial.
This is good tunes.
Yeah, it was like the pixel art, like the animations were a little more. Like, because sometimes those, like, pixel art doodles from companies or whatever are just like, oh, my God, who did you hire for this?
Right.
Like, there's so many amazing pixel artists out there, and you have tons of money. Like, why did you get this? But in this case, it's like, oh, man, they were really, like, actually seemingly poured some love into this.
That's good pixel
within
art.
reason. Yeah, within reason, of course. But, yeah, I was pretty impressed. And giving Jerry Lawson a little love, like, probably an somewhat unsung hero up until like some of these more modern like retro gaming documentaries. That's how I heard of him.
Same. It was, I can't remember which one, but yeah, they were like, no, this guy invented the concept of consoleized video games.
Yeah, like it would not be where it's like in some capacity it's like something along those lines probably
Video
would have come around
cartridge.
eventually, but it's really cool to be like, hey man, that's where it all started.
Yes.
No, that's
So,
cool. It's like, yeah,
cool little
it has
doodle.
like a Mario Maker looking interface for level
yeah.
editing.
God, it does.
It's
It had
so
quite
cute.
a few.
Wow.
And it had like settings and options. Like I was like, oh man, this looks decently robust for, for a Google Doodle that they could totally mail in.
I hope that they like keep it like as a thing that like
I think they do archive those in some way. I don't know how or where you can access them, but I think they do archive like all the Google Doodles, and
because that would just
some
be
way,
a
shape, or
great
form.
way to do like, I don't know, like free level editing or game design for like teaching a course or like whatever. It would be nice.
Yeah, I still want to try that the GMTK, the Game Maker's Toolkit. He made like a platformer maker kind of thing that you can like, it's super simple it looks like, but you can kind of like, just has a bunch of like basically sliders that you can like adjust like for the speed and the jump height and the jump fall and like pretty basic stuff. But it looked like you could like, for a somewhat straightforward, almost like Flash looking game, it looked like you could really like kind of fine tune the controls and just like, I don't know, make something that's fun to play. Cause like, the couple times that I did like boot up Pico 8 or boot up even Game Maker, it was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't know any coding, so I'm just like totally lost. We're like, oh, I can place blocks and jump on them.
Right.
So
Best thing like with those tutorials is like literally building step by step, like along with a tutorial. It's so frustrating and like it takes forever, but like it's the best way to learn. Is just like, it's like, all right, how do I literally make a menu? How do I make a like a world that has physics?
Yep.
Because like trying to wing it without any prior like coding knowledge is just worse.
It's a nightmare. It's very discouraging because I went from being like, oh, you can just download Game Maker for like $100 or buy it for $100 at the time, anyways. Like. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, now you can just make games. It's like you drag and drop, you know? It's like, no, not really. It's like drag and drop to some capacity, like some of the engine functionalities, but not necessarily just drag this character you drew, which I have no artistic skills either. So, you know, but it's not that simple. But I do remember Kevin, I was able to figure out how to, like,
artistic skills who like
well,
wrote
visual
of music.
Visual artistic skills. Or drawing or whatever. But yeah, I what was I going to say about the audio now? I don't remember. It's gone.
Does Game Maker have an audio editor?
Oh, that is what I was going to say. I don't know if there's an edit. I think there is some kind of minimal functionality thing, but I was able to, like, when Glenn and I were working on E-, I was able to, like, attach sound effects to certain events and stuff like that. Like, I was able to kind of get in there and figure out some of that stuff and set the volumes for everything so that it was like kind of equal. Instead, I guess I could have just EQ'd the sounds before I sent them to Glenn, but or set the levels or whatever. But nonetheless, it was drag and drop in that regard. Like I was able to once Glenn had the structure and like the skeleton there, I was able to kind of follow the path and be like, oh, here's where the sounds are. Okay, I can update that. So I guess it's somewhat true on the drag and drop. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's sweet,
bragging
though.
that they do. Yeah. It is a cool engine. For sure.
It's a good place to get started.
Yeah. Did you happen to see if you talked about Saga, Randall, or do you remember?
That's what I was looking for. It looks like just to say that I was going to play it this year.
Okay, nice. Because I was going to say, I could have sworn that we talked about it briefly, but yeah, maybe you were just saying you enjoyed it.
I know at one point I said that I was on disc 3. I do remember saying that.
I remember you saying, I remember like having a moment, and maybe I just remember editing it like out of like a back trim, or maybe
I think that's all it was.
A save it for the cast.
Yeah, it was definitely not part of the actual episode.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we're squeezing I'm not alone this year squeezing in my resolution game, so I love it. It was pretty pumped that literally couldn't have come closer to squeezing it in, going to grab that copy out of Chicago. I could have sworn I had it packed in one of my boxes, and then when I was like, oh shit, that one box has like all my Switch games, I think, other than like Ninja Saviors and a couple other things. But
hey, those are good games.
Good games for sure. I did end up, so kind of funny. So I told you guys and even talked about it on a Save It for the Cast. I ordered that Paper Mario Origami King.
Yeah.
On Amazon, and for whatever reason, and there was like, you could order the PAL European version, was on sale for like $37, but I was like, no, I want the North American version, and it was like 42 or something. I ordered it. For whatever reason, I got the European version anyways, and I was like, that's annoying, and I was going to keep it, and then I was like, no, I'm going to send it back, and they like automatically sent a replacement copy. They sent a replacement, but it was from the same seller, and so they just sent another European, even though I put, like, the reason I don't want it, is because it's the NTSC, and, like, long story short, I ended up returning both copies, and then I'm still waiting to get the refund. And I'm just like, oh, my God. But in the meantime, the Cowabunga collection, which I didn't buy the first time around, or didn't buy, like, immediately, was on sale on Amazon for $25.
I saw that.
So I was
they
like,
dropped the price on that on Black Friday. I'm like, oh, shit.
I was shocked. Yeah. So like after, and I literally had just finished editing, or it was the same day, I know. So maybe it was after I had already purchased it. I can't remember now, but it was the same day I was editing, and you were saying like, oh, you got to get those licensed games. Like if they're available, you got to get them at launch. I was like, man, that's $15 cheaper than normal price.
Yes.
I better get it now. Especially because with that Nickelodeon, and it's a cool, and I honestly, what put me over the hump was that Turtles in Time, they have the Super Nintendo version and the arcade version, which I've never played the arcade version. And they also have like the actual, like the NES game. They have like the actual arcade version as well. So
nice.
I don't know what's different about them, if anything, as far as Turtles in Time goes, but still just kind of cool that it's like, okay, they have like the true arcade version and then the, whatever they had to change to get it on a Super Nintendo cartridge. But pretty pumped to have that.
Which version they had at Logan?
I don't know, but I would imagine it was. They did have that one station with like the Super Nintendo hooked up at Logan and like the consoles, but I'm pretty sure everything otherwise was.
Well, I mean, was it Turtles in Time or was it another?
Oh, I don't know. It could have been the original Turtles arcade as well.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which one because, like, honestly, I don't. I've only ever played Turtles as an arcade game. I've never played a home version of any of them.
I think I'm the opposite. Like, I only have ever played Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo and then like the NES arcade port. I don't think I've ever, maybe in passing, but like my fond memories are of like Simpsons and X-Men arcade as far as like those licensed arcade games go. So
that Konami
I maybe played them at some point in time, but I don't recall it. I don't think I ever did at Logan.
Yeah.
I don't think I even knew that they had one.
I think
but they tend
do.
to.
I don't know.
They tend to have the older arcade games there, though, like the kind of more like the 80s, like Burger Time and Pac-Man. Not that one's quite as old, but I think the original arcade one was late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, no later than early 90s.
Right.
Yeah. But between that and then I think there were 2 or 3 Game Boy games, which I think I said I played one of those, but I don't know which one. And it wasn't amazing or anything. But
yeah.
Whatever. I'm a Turtles sort of fanboy. I guess not really. I haven't followed in a long time, but sucker for the video games and the retro nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, otherwise I do plan on picking up Paper Mario, but now that I'm kind of like, I saw that they did add, although I would end up getting the PAL version probably, but they have that Klonoa collection or whatever, the 2 Klonoa games, and they have the PAL physical version on Amazon now, which they didn't originally, and it's only like $40, $42.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it wasn't.
I'm kind of tempted. I'm like, should I get that instead of Paper Mario? Now that I got burned twice, and I just don't, it's so weird how at least my brain, I'm just like, I'm over it now. I don't even want that game, even though I do want it. Yeah, but I'm just kind of like, I'm done with it. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to get it elsewhere.
I watched Tina play some of that when it first came out, and I liked it more than a lot of the other recent Paper Mario games. I'll say that much.
I remember even really, like, I didn't end up playing much more after I talked about it on the podcast, but even Sticker Star I was enjoying a little bit. And then I heard pretty good things about Color Splash on Wii U, although that one's like $90 for real now, at least every time I see it.
Like, they're all
again, that might just be an Amazon price.
Like, there's nothing wrong with them.
They definitely lost I don't know. They lost something. Again, it's probably, or at least for me, it's a lot of what we've talked about with a bunch of other Nintendo games that have long running series. Like, they just have to add something new to like justify a new installment. It's just like, I would have happily just played like the same exact structure of Thousand Year Door or the first game. Just give me eight new worlds to explore, 8 new little zones, 5, however many, like. That's all I need, and in most cases,
Luigi,
that's all I need.
Like, they had perfect in Thousand Year Door. They could have just literally had that side of it.
They did.
Even had,
I know.
They even had the year of Luigi. Like, they could have like totally leaned into it that year.
Shit, Paper Bowser. Give me Paper Bowser. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, God. Bowser's Inside Story. That was pretty good. I never played they came out with one.
Oh, those games were great. The Mario
Did they come
Luigi
out with
games.
a Mario
There's so many.
Luigi after that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's
the Luigi one where he's sleeping. That one was on
Luigi's like Dream Team or something.
Dream Team, maybe that's right. Yeah. That was
I think there's 4 of those games.
And there was another one too.
Partners in Time. There's Superstar Saga, then Partners in Time, then Bowser's Inside Story, then Dream Team. So I never played Dream Team.
I've only ever played like a little bit of Superstar Saga and Partners
Superstar Saga
in Time.
is a perfect game.
It's very good.
I'm livid that like it was kind of a similar thing where like just had to keep adding stuff, just had to keep like making this like more and more complicated, and like you really didn't. Like,
even Partners in Time got pretty tricky, like doing some of the platforming where you had to like roll your thumb like over all 4 face buttons and like a good timing. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, especially on like a little tiny handheld.
Yeah.
Superstar Saga was the like perfect amount of complexity and
that soundtrack too.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Everything about every once in a while, like I'll see stuff about. Also, I just really love the idea of Luigi having lightning powers as opposed to fire powers. Like it was just a
I kind of forgot about that.
Ugh, fucking great game.
All the little like gags, like even it never got old. Every time Mario just starts like blubbering, like in the like I don't know gibberish Italian, like just so. And it's like I'm pretty sure it's like the same sample every single time, the same sound sample, and it just never gets old. Or there's maybe a few that they cycle through, but man, that's really making me want to play those games. I never have the I never have the patience for RPGs, but those ones are, they definitely suck me in a little bit. Although with Superstar Saga, I think I've like stopped at the same point. I think I've started it up like 3 different times and just like, it's not like I stop for any particular reason, but I just get a little lost or stuck or whatever I'm doing and move, start playing something else and whoops, forgot about that game. And then it's been too long when it comes to RPGs to just pick them up again.
Didn't they do a re-release of that on 3DS too? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, with like that little like bonus. They did that with a couple games.
Yeah.
Like there's like a little like bonus like mini game sort of thing or just side mode.
Yeah.
I forget which other game they did that with, but there was like another. It might have been another Mario and Luigi game.
I think it was Bowser's Inside Story that they did that with.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you are correct. They just skipped right over Partners in Time.
I
knew they didn't want anybody.
I played through that game.
I played through a good chunk of it as well, but nowhere near finishing it, I'm sure. But,
yeah, I'm not going to say there wasn't a tough learning curve there because there was, but
yeah, that jumping is no joke. Like I remember there was like a cavern level, like early-ish on in the game because again I didn't get very far, but like you were having to like jump up to like higher tiers and then like go in like caverns with the baby Marios and Luigis and then like. Yeah, you'd have to like jump like all 4 of them in succession, like over this gap. And like if you fall down, you got to redo like 10 jumps. It's like, geez, man. Didn't know this was like a semi like precision top down platform. I mean, that's a little extreme,
but it kind of was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had a higher BS
some
tolerance.
Cool puzzle solving, some cool like top down like dungeon, like Zelda style puzzles and stuff like that. From what I remember, anyways.
God, yeah, the super jump with Luigi and then the whirlwind jump with...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're pretty agile. I forgot about those, like, moves on, like, the world map, because obviously you can do those in battle, too. But,
yep.
But it's crazy how much just adding those timing-based attacks can add to a game for me. Like, the new Sock Pop game, I've played, like, 2 seconds of it. It's called Spring Blades, but it's like a just RPG, and you basically just have this golf meter, or, like... kind of like in Strikers or whatever, where like the meter just swings and you just got to try to stop it. And like if you totally miss, you do 1 damage. If you get it like in the medium bar, you do 2. If you get it right in the middle, you get 3. And then same thing for blocking. It's just like it's crazy. It's just a 1-button game on that game. Best I can tell. Like there's like accept and cancel. So I guess 2 buttons. But like your only button for attacking and selecting everything is just pressing a space bar. I didn't even have a controller hooked up. So
wow.
It's just like and even that I was like, man, I'm sucked into this. Again, it had a really cool art style. Same thing with Paper Mario or the Mario and Luigi games. So, it's not like that's the only thing they have going for them, but I don't know, man. I don't know if you guys are the same way because you both of you are a little more likely to play like a regular RPG or, turn-based combat. Not to say that I hate it always, but I definitely don't gravitate towards it.
I need sometimes just a little bit more of a catch at this point, I would say, for me to play through an RPG. Like, specifically, just the regular generic turn-based battles, I'm probably not going to stick with it all the way through at this point.
Yeah. If it's like Final Fantasy, just like boom, start to finish.
Triangle strategy was great, though. God,
I still have my eye on that.
Back on that. God,
I still have my eye on that. And I looked on Black Friday for deals, and it didn't. It seemed like it dropped a little bit, but I didn't see anything. I was like, "Whoa, it's $20 or $30 or whatever. Let me grab it right now."
Yeah. Oh man, those games. Every time you fired up, particularly Triangle strategy, a little bit more than Octopath for whatever reason. Probably just because I saw maybe a tiny bit more of it, but. Man, just looks so good. Like such a slick game.
Dude, the Octopath like optional bosses are some of the hardest and like best I think the best like turn-based battles of like that I can remember as being like challenging but fun as opposed to like it's really easy for like a turn-based battle to just be challenging and a slog and like not fun at all.
Yep.
But like those optional bosses in Octopath and the final bosses of both of the first two Golden Sun games are two of the hardest, but like most engaging. Just like, okay, I can do this. Like I just need to like heal like all my characters in this one term, make sure that I'm outputting damage or putting up a shield or doing a status effect and like actually using every mechanic as opposed to
that is true. There's more layers there in like Golden Sun and games like that.
God.
Yeah.
It's not just attack or go into your item menu and select your potion again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are some where it's just like as long as you bulk up enough beforehand going into the battle or stock up or have enough money or whatever, enough magic or enough healing spells or whatever, it's just you're just going through the motions until the battle ends, kind of.
Yeah. And like the optional bosses in Octopath are kind of set up like Mega Man bosses, where like once you do one, it makes another one a lot easier. And like, so it's basically just picking your poison on like which one you want to go in without like the first one
with pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man. It was fucking, I think I honestly like played like it for an hour. And like it was just turn based of like one battle, and I was like,
God.
But it was like,
God,
like I was like really amped up and like, really.
That's like the perfect. That's like a situation where I like wish I was like in Lauren's shoes, because like I do think about when I was like when I lived with DJ and Steve, like just watching them play games, like because I'm always just so indecisive. Like sometimes it's just like while I'm home, like I just end up sitting and like watching reality shows with my mom and sister or whatever. Like just like I don't really want to pick anything. I just kind of want to relax and snack on something or do whatever. Just enjoy a beer, glass of wine, cup of coffee, whatever it might be, and just like watch somebody else do something. Maybe I'll noodle on my Switch or my laptop or phone or whatever at the same time. But I don't know. I kind of like that's something I would like. Oh, I'd like to just like experience that game tangentially, because I know I'm never gonna play through it for 80 hours or whatever, but I wouldn't mind seeing it more of those bosses, because those sprites are, I guess they're not sprites, whatever the heck they are.
I mean, well, there kind of are sprites for the like boss art as well, because it's I guess really it's just set like the way like old Final Fantasy where like they're like 10 times the size of your character sprites.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I guess it's just the environment that's sort of like that pseudo 3D look that they got going on. But yeah, the bosses are just kind of massive. There's some kind of visual flair extra going on. But yeah, man, those games are so cool looking.
Yeah.
Just so clean.
I love that about those GBA games, because they kind of leaned more into almost a 32-bit sprite art style. I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like
I'm
it almost makes them like look a little blurry, but because of that, it like looks more like textured and like rich in some way. I don't know. Like those Golden Sun games, I think about like they're kind of like, I don't know if blurry is even the right word, like blotchy or something. I don't know what the right word is, but it just like has a nice texture.
On a Game Boy Advance, like the original Game Boy Advance, not the SP, or like was it just an unbacklit LED?
It definitely was unbacklit. Yeah, it probably was. Yeah.
Might have even been an LCD.
It might have been.
Ooh, yeah. Because like I didn't think it was like that. Yeah, because when you said like blurry, I'm like, well, obviously it's not like a cathode ray or whatever the fuck like the original Game Boy was, which was like that was 4-color LCD.
Like,
yeah. But like, yeah, it definitely had some blur. On it, which is weird. Because there wasn't any, I can't really think of like what would be causing the blur. It's unlike a cathode ray,
right?
Yeah, but I don't know. It adds like a texture of depth or something to the pixels. I always like how that looks.
Because Kevin, I think you were talking was maybe on like the previous episode where you talking about like the like people emulate. Maybe this was a separate discussion. I don't know. Like people emulating retro pixel art, but like doing it with like base it off of emulation instead of like CRT, so you get really crisp hard lines for like retro pixel art, but like the reality of what like those retro games looked like was a lot blurrier and fuzzier because of the cathode rays.
Dithered, yes.
Yeah, it can definitely be jarring if you're like playing something on an emulator that you've like that you're super familiar with and like playing on an old fuzzy TV from the 80s or whatever, 90s.
And it's so
like, oh man, why is it even when we talked about like the N64 games, like playing them on Switch, it's just like, man, these look like so crisp. Like, it's jarring almost. And for some of them it does like add, like you can see more of like the flaws or more of like the rough edges or where they kind of like were able to be like, the blur kind of, or the, smooth creaminess kind of almost makes it look better, or at least covers it over.
A little blended. Yeah. So Game Boy Advance was a TFT LCD, and it was 240 by 160 pixels.
Okay.
Oh,
that was a rough. I liked the form factor of that original Game Boy Advance, like the shape of it. Definitely more comfortable than the SP, but man, that SP is a night and day upgrade.
Yes.
For screen and for just like the fact that you can close it up. And,
yes.
Oh man, what a night and day upgrade. Same thing the other day. It must have been when I was over at my buddy Josh's place when his brother Nathan busted out the suitcase of full of retro consoles and stuff. I think he pulled out like an original DS. I saw an original DS recently, and I was like, oh my god,
that thing is a monster.
It's so clunky. Like,
it is.
It really is clunky. The only time I ever really played one was it was my buddy Josh's, so that might have even been the same DS, and we played it. We were doing an OK to Ship like demo recording session like all night, and we were like mixing it. And these other guys that recorded us were mixing it, so we were just like sitting there passing around the DS playing WarioWare Touched. That's probably why I love that game so much. Like that was my introduction to WarioWare.
Yeah,
and it was just like, oh my god, we were just like getting slap happy. It was like 2-3 in the morning, and we're just like slamming on this DS. Like every game is just like frantic, just mashing the stylus or slicing it around. Oh, that's such a great game. Good memories.
Yeah, that guy was a clunker. I threw that thing into the sun as soon as the DS Lite came out, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
the DS Lite was...
I had the gray one, but that's an ugly son of a bitch.
Whoa,
and it wasn't that comfortable either, comparatively.
No. For possibly my most played system of all time, it was not comfortable.
No.
Yeah. The speakers were kind of rough.
Yeah.
I remember like the sound, maybe the person or maybe my buddies was a little bit, blown or something, but I remember the speakers didn't sound great.
Mm-mm.
And it was a pretty dim screen. Like you could not see.
Yeah, the DS Lite was definitely an improvement that way too.
It was a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
I still I played so much of that. And I was just thinking about the size of the pockets on all my pairs of pants that I must have had in terms of fashion, because that thing was always on me.
Forget about Gyro John. We got Jinko John over
here. My jeans were not skinny. They were boot cut.
That's right, baby.
Oh, man. Handheld. That's a Game Boy cut.
Oh,
man. Original Game Boy cut.
God.
That's great. Oh man, but glad to hear that things took a turn for the better.
Oh yeah,
so.
No, it's Fiona that then started barfing once we kind of got over that.
Oh no!
So that was that was since Saturday night, and then it's been kind of up and down with that because RSV and all that shit's everywhere.
I was gonna say, is she feeling any better at all? Did you guys do anything for Thanksgiving or anything?
Yeah, we took her to daycare today, but then on pickup she kind of looked pale. I'm like, well, okay, maybe we're staying home again tomorrow. So,
yeah.
It's like, oh geez, man.
God.
Yeah, it is brutal. Like, so just having kids, it's such a game changer. A lot of the people I know back home here in Michigan are teachers, and it's just being around kids at school. It's just like, man, you are just sick all the time if you have a kid in your household or if you deal with them in any capacity.
Yep.
Always, constantly.
Yeah,
especially this time of year.
Oh yeah, or any season change, but yeah, especially the cold weather.
Cold weather plus school season for the bigger kids.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be right back. It
do
is
it.
so fucking hot in here, so I'm gonna crack open a window and change into shorts.
I was surprised you rocking that tank top because it's freezing in the house right now. Not freezing, but it's cold.
All of the radiators kicked on. So
yeah, those things are beasts.
Mm-hmm.